Welcome to the USAG Daegu Facility Managers Training virtual session, sponsored by the Master Planning Division, Ju Im, Chief, Master Planning. Moving on to the next slide, I want to also thank the virtual session contributors as listed on the slide. The narrations in this training course will be provided by myself and my supervisor, Ju Im. The training overview. The Facility Managers Program serves to inform and educate designated representatives from tenant units, agencies, and organizations on the policies and procedures to effectively interact with the Directorate of Public Works, DPW, and other garrison support staff. Further, the program helps facility managers to manage, inspect, schedule maintenance, request facility service orders and work orders, report and submit emergency work orders for facility issues that are critical, time sensitive, and understand requirements for conducting and recording inspections and audits based upon procedures outlined in the ISR-I program instructions. Installation Status Report Infrastructure, otherwise known as the ISR-I program, to ensure effective real property management through uniform and synchronized procedures pertaining to maintaining and tracking the readiness of USAG Daegu real property. The ISR-I program provides an evaluation of the mission support, functional capability, quality, quantity, and readiness of Army infrastructure for each reporting location to establish Army standards. Assessors use Army-wide standards to evaluate conditions of facilities and infrastructure and identify substandard buildings or shortfalls. This in turn helps the garrison compute restoration costs and program for projects and restoration efforts. The goals: support operational, training, and quality of life needs for tenant units, soldiers and civilians, and their families through effective facility management and timely maintenance, repair, and modernization of real property. All facility managers and ISR-I inspectors are trained in their duties and responsibilities and capable of conducting annual inspections. Sustain or improve communication between tenants and DPW. The final goal is to consolidate building management procedures across all domains: property accountability, fire, energy management, self-help, safety, security, and environmental, and ISR reporting. The final slide in this portion shows the directorates and offices involved with the FMT training. There's the Directorate of Emergency Services, the Directorate of Public Works, and the USAG Daegu Garrison Safety Office, and all the affiliated subcomponents.
Hello, welcome to the Facility Managers Training virtual online session. My name is Ju Im, and I'm going to cover the training section related to the Master Planning Division. The Master Planning Division also consists of Real Property Branch. The training is to inform and educate representatives from tenant unit on policies and procedure to interact with DPW and garrison support staff to manage, inspect, and request facility service orders. Also going over the requirements for conducting ISR inspections. This section of the training will cover the following topics: building management responsibilities, space utilization and space planning, container requests, and registration process for site approval. The following are the point of contacts for Master Planning Division and Real Property Branch. My name is Ju Im, and I'm the Chief of Master Planning Division. Mr. David Garcia works with me as a General Engineer in the Master Planning Division. In the Real Property Branch, Mr. Bob Nemo is the Chief of Real Property Branch, and Mr. Kim Kyung-yeon is a Real Property Specialist, and Ms. Hana Kim is another Realty Specialist. Next slide will cover the responsibility of the Facility Manager. Facility Managers are responsible for is the responsible authority for the unit's assigned facilities, and they are expected to periodically inspect their assigned facilities. If they find any deficiencies or any equipment that requires repair, they are to submit a work order or service order. This will initiate the process for DPW to address the issue and perform repair. Facility managers are required to make sure ISR infrastructure inspectors conduct facility inspections. This is a very important process which requires inspectors to go through each checklist item and make sure that the inspection is done accurately. The ISR results will determine the SRM, which stands for Sustainment, Restoration, and Modernization, funding from income which is used to repair or renovate your facilities. The facilities are rated from Q1 through Q4, or equivalent color of a green, amber, red, and black. Q1 or green is the best rating, which means it's in good condition, and Q4 or black is the worst condition. If the facility is rated inaccurately higher than actual condition, the SRM funding that Garrison gets from income will be reduced, since it will bring down the overall rating. Rating the building as red or black does not mean facility manager is not doing their job. It just means that the facility infrastructure is in bad shape, and correctly identifying the deficiency is the facility manager's job, so that correct amount of SRM funding can be allocated to perform the repair or renovate your facility. The primary facility manager must be a unit commander or director. Alternate facility manager is appointed from the unit leadership, but they have a limited authority. Secure assigned facility and maintain control. When the facility is returned, it needs to be returned to the garrison through real property office. A unit is responsible for replacing missing keys. Return of excess property to DPW real property office. It's a violation to laterally transfer space to other units. The facility must be turned over to the real property branch so that it can be correctly documented. It's not up to your unit to find the next tenant. Master planning office will find the next tenant that's best suited for your space based on their requirements. Next, I'm going to go over the space utilization and planning. Space utilization ensures facility assets meet your mission requirements. Assistance with space requests. Submit your request in accordance with Master Planning Division 002 Master Planning Process. When the unit submits a space request form, we will determine the amount of space that the unit is entitled to based on stationing packet, or TDA. The AR 405-70 outlines the amount of space that can be allocated based on each person's rank and allowance for equipment and furniture. USAG Daegu Commander has the final authority for the space plans. DPW Real Property Branch routinely validate space utilization via real property inventories. Planning to ensure DPW facility program long-term, we have contractors that are funded by income to perform area development plans for these long-term planning at each of the main camps in Area 4. Contact Master Planning Division to discuss programming for new construction and modernization requirements. If new facilities are needed or current facility no longer meets your needs. For container management, all container require three things: USAG Daegu Commander's approval, DPW site approval. Please note that these containers are personal property and not real property. Therefore, it is your unit's responsibility to maintain the containers. Ensure that containers have a proper label showing POC contact information. If these units are not maintained or abandoned and do not have the POC information, it can be removed by the garrison. There's a policy memorandum number 97 that lists the requirements for container management. Each unit is responsible for disposal of the container when it is no longer needed. The main point of contact for container management is Mr. David Garcia from Master Planning, Mr. Jeffrey Schott from 403rd, and Mr. Charles Thomas from DRMO. With that, I will conclude the Master Planning portion of this course. Thank you.
Energy and water conservation. Pro tips to become an awesome facility manager. A. Be mindful. and pay attention. Water leaks, grinding noises from fans, mold in bathrooms, lights left on overnight, etc. B. Problems do not solve themselves, they tend to get worse. You need to start the process. C. Service order desk, call or email 763-4824 or at the email address specified on the slide. D. Include camp, building, problem, POC, point of contact info, with cell or DSN telephone numbers. E. Make sure you get a service order number. This way you can follow up if needed. Tips on feeling comfortable in Korea. A. Weather in Korea, New Orleans summers and Arctic winters. B. Keep windows, doors closed if AC or heat is on. C. Winters are frigid and bone dry. Layer up, use body lotion, get a humidifier for your room. And D. Summers are super hot and rainy. Keep an eye out for mold and mildew in bathrooms. Buy bleach and a sponge to wipe it away if you see it starting to grow. Next slide is the Building Energy Monitor bi-monthly checklist. Let's go ahead and take a few seconds to just take a look at that real quickly. Moving on to the next slide now. Need to get something fixed? You are not alone. We are here to help you. 1. Service order desk 763-4824. 2. Here's the email address. 3. Jim Johnson, Boyd Chief 763-4820 or 010-8582-0265 for his Korean cell. And number 4, self-help shops on Camp Carroll and Walker, bulb, screws, etc. This concludes this portion of the briefing. Service orders and work orders. What is a service order and work order? A service order is a minor maintenance and repairs of real property, less than 40 man-hours and $2,500 in total, accomplished within 3 shops, accomplished the quickest and easiest way. A work order is for all work which does not fall within the service order limits. Requirements are surveyed and estimated, accomplished by in-house or by contract. The forms that you should be familiar with for a work order are the DA Form 4283 and Reference Governing Regulations, Army Facility Management Regulations, as well as USAG Daegu RP Management Policies and Procedure. On the next slide, please take a few minutes to look this over. Service order versus work order and the required information, the priority, the approval, and the completion and feedback. Work order prioritization process. Another slide, just take a second here to look it over. Moving on to the next slide. Prioritizing a service order. Priority 1 is an emergency, 1-day turnaround, detrimental to the mission of causes, reduces operational defectiveness. Situations such as human life, safety or health could be harmed or endangered, cause significant damage to a facility or infrastructure, or compromise security or safety. Some examples, not all inclusive, are gas or oil leak, electrical hazard, a chemical spill, call the fire department, manhole overflowing or water main break, downed trees or power line blocking the road, busted pipe or flooding in a room or building, essential room, barracks room or building locked or unable to lock or door failure, dining facility or barracks without air conditioning, heat, water, and/or power, whole buildings or entire floors without air conditioning, heat, water, and/or power, special rooms without air conditioning, heat, water, and/or power, and finally, other critical services as directed by the Director of DPW. Prioritizing a service order. Priority 2, urgent, 7-day turnaround. Could become an emergency, seriously affect morale, has command emphasis. Situations, measurably reduce productivity, cause discomfort or inconvenience to the customer, waste resources, or create the need for additional minor repairs. Examples, not all inclusive, are leaking pipe causing potential minor damage, barracks or office rooms without air conditioning, heat, water, and/or power, a toilet clogged if more than one toilet available, otherwise it's an emergency. Security gate / fence unable to lock, rats or wasp in the building, entire parking lot without any lights, and of course other services as directed by DPW. Prioritizing a service order. Priority 3, routine type service order, 30-day turnaround. The problem is low priority and will be performed after higher priority service orders are completed. Situations, cause discomfort or inconvenience to the customer, waste resources, or create the need for additional minor repairs. Examples, of course, not all inclusive, but are water leaks which do not cause potential damage, minor electricity or plumbing problems in buildings, sink or shower is clogged, major pothole, sinkhole repair, pest control problems other than rats or wasp in buildings, and non-essential room or building is locked. Next slide is a work order flow chart. Take a second just to get an idea of the flow of a work order. Going on to the next slide, work order prioritization process. Again, just take a second here to look at this and get an idea of the prioritization process of a work order and how it flows. Going on to the next slide, work order priority. Again, to recap, priority number 1, life, health, safety. Those affecting life, health, and security safety are, of course, of the utmost concern. Mold issues, risk assessment codes. Priority 2, command interests, exercise supporting, service contract, garrison event, child and youth services, change of occupancy, a non-compliancy of a regulatory item. Priority 3, preventative maintenance order and a standing operating order. And priority 4 is all others, a quality of life issue, non-real property task, backlog task of design projects. Facility manager responsibilities, identify work orders, work requirements. As a facility manager, you will serve as the facility's primary point of contact for initiating work requirements to DPW. Track, monitor, and report work status information to facility occupants as needed. Be familiar with the different methods of initiating work requirements. Ensure that no self-help or contract by requester type work is accomplished without prior approval by DPW on a DA Form 4283. Note, without such approval, the unit may be liable for the cost to undo or redo the work. What is a DA Form 4283? It's a facilities engineering work request. Take a second to look at the form here on the slide. Okay, moving on. Exercise scenario. Assumption: there are 4 urinals in the men's restroom at the movie theater. You are the facility manager. Condition: one of the urinals is clogged and water is leaking and overflowing onto the floor in the men's restroom. Step 1 would be close the water supply valve to prevent further leaking, overflowing prior to calling DPW. Step 2, call the service order desk at the specified number. Or step 3, send an email to the specified email address. Next slide, points of contact. Business Operations and Integration Division. Mr. James P. Johnson, Chief, Business Operations and Integration Division. Mr. Chung Hae Chol is the Deputy for Business Operations Integration Division. And again, there are the Service Order Desk and Work Order Desk phone numbers. This concludes this portion of the briefing. The Camp Walker and Camp Carroll self-help stores. On Camp Walker, the self-help store is located at building T466. On Camp Carroll, the self-help store is building S325. Please note the hours of operation for both locations. The self-help program. The self-help program is designed to use available manpower resources more effectively by encouraging troop units and government housing occupants to perform simple maintenance and minor repair work within their capabilities. The DPW, of course, is expected to perform maintenance repairs beyond the capabilities and resources of the tenant. Many expensive and/or time-consuming repairs can be avoided by the tenant regularly performing minor common maintenance tasks. Of course, if you do not feel safe attempting repair, don't do it. Self-help items. Some examples of items available for ordering: curtain shower rod, light bulbs, paint supplies, wall repair supplies, towel racks, soap dishes, and switch and outlet covers. On the next several slides, we're going to look at examples of light bulbs. Take a second to take a look at these examples of light bulbs. Going on to the next slide, look at the pictures, some more examples of light bulbs that are offered by the self-help store. And finally, several more examples of light bulbs. On to the next slide, we have examples of paint brush roller kits. Take a moment to look at these. More examples of paints, brushes. General hardware. Take a look at these pictures, and as you can see, there are a number of items offered by the self-help store under the category of general hardware. More examples of general hardware items. On the next slide, cleaners and pesticides. Take a look at the pictures. These are some examples of items offered under the category of cleaners and pesticides. Nails, nuts, screws, and bolts. The self-help store has those as well. Take a look at these pictures. Miscellaneous. A number of items that are categorized as miscellaneous. Take a look at these pictures. Next slide. More miscellaneous items offered by the self-help store. And next slide, a continuation of additional miscellaneous items. Self-help task. Electrical HVAC. Replace light bulbs accessed by 6-foot ladder. Replace cracked, broken switch covers. Replace lights and appliances. Change or clean AC heat unit filters. Clean window AC units. Under plumbing, unclog toilets and drains. Tighten, replace toilet seats. Replace stoppers and drains. Caulk around tub and tile. Clean, remove mold from caulk. Under carpentry, lubricate locks and hardware. Replace door stops. Replace curtain rods and accessories. Adjust cabinet doors and drawers. Electrical examples. Take a note of what is considered a unit responsibility. changing out a light bulb with a 6-foot ladder. Below that is a responsibility of DPW. Exposed wires, do not touch. For something like this, call for demand maintenance order, a DMO, better known as a service order. Resetting breakers, one time only, try it yourself, then call DPW. Next slide, unit versus DPW responsibilities for plumbing. Take a second here to note unit responsibilities versus DPW responsibilities for plumbing. Moving on to the next slide. Self-help program must have a current DA 1687 signature card and assumption of command orders. For any self-help supplies, all requests must come via a customer walk-in. You must be in a government vehicle, a GOV, when coming to the self-help store. The following items are one-for-one available to any soldier. Signature card not needed for these items. Light bulb, shower curtain, toilet seat, switch covers. Tools. Please take a note of these pictures and some items available under tools, such as ladder, screwdriver, wrenches, hammer, plunger, measuring tape, flashlight, and safety glasses and gloves as some examples. General tools. Take a look at these pictures to give you an idea of what's offered by the self-help store under the category of general tools. More general tools on the next slide. On the slide after that, landscaping tools. Take a moment to look at the pictures of some examples of landscaping tools. Self-help limits. Authorized monthly limit is $300. $500 a year for SLQ. These limits do not carry over to the next month. It's use it or lose it. Paint, limit is 3 cans per month. Roller kit, consisting of cover, roller, and a tray, 1 per month. These are not disposable and can be reused. Items are issued by DPW self-help in order for small repairs to be executed at the unit level. If your project requires a large quantity of materials, utilize the work order or service order process to acquire those materials. Points of contact for the self-help stores. Mr. Billy Robinson, Chief, Supply Branch, Boyd. Mr. Kim Kon-yu, Supply Branch, Boyd. Mr. Kim So-il, Supply Branch for Camp Walker. Mr. Young Tae-sok, Supply Branch for Camp Carroll. And also note the phone numbers and email addresses for the points of contact. On the next slide, self-help and preventative maintenance quiz. These are yes and no questions. Question 1. Is the facility manager and his or her available staff authorized to fix any electrical related work assigned to the real property without contacting DPW? Question 2. Is the facility manager and his or her available staff authorized to replace light bulbs higher than 6 feet? Question 3. When you detect any water leaking, your first step should be to shut off the water line. Yes or no? Question 4. Is a facility manager allowed to use his POV to pick up government supplies from his or her area self-help store? And question 5. Is every unit facility manager required to submit a signature card and assumption of command in order to establish the self-help store account? Yes or no? Answers can be found at the end of the training slides. This concludes this portion of the briefing. Environmental Division. Topics discussed in this section will include general environmental concerns, cultural and historical resources protection, asbestos awareness, lead-based paint awareness, spill response procedure, above-ground storage tanks, stray animal control, recycling program, and hazardous materials and waste. General environmental concerns. Environmental officers. Every unit/organization that has the potential to impact the environment will appoint and train environmental officers at an appropriate organizational level to ensure compliance. Facility managers can work together with the unit environmental officers to maintain environmental compliance. For example, recycling, work orders, etc. Cultural resources protection. Managed by the garrison. Regulated by USFK regulations. Consultation with the Korean Cultural Heritage Administration. Statues, dolmens, graves, monuments, etc. If on post or off post cultural resources are damaged, you could be liable. Bottom line, do not disturb any resources on or off post. Indigenous building protection. Managed by the garrison, regulated by USFK regulations. Must notify and consult with the Republic of Korea government to demolish, abandon in place, or substantially alter indigenous facilities to enable the ROC government to record the change to their real property records. Indigenous buildings will not be modified, converted, and/or demolished without prior written approval from the USFK. Requires consultation with the Korean Cultural Heritage Administration. Indigenous buildings are defined as buildings or structures in their original state which were constructed by the ROC government and existed on an area of land prior to its use or occupancy by the United States. Asbestos awareness. What is asbestos? Asbestos is a naturally occurring mineral. What is asbestos-containing material, ACM? Any material containing more than 1% asbestos by weight. Where was asbestos used? Items such as floor tile, mastic, ceiling tiles, insulation, window glazing, fireproofing, etc. When is asbestos a hazard? When asbestos fibers are disturbed or released into the air, they become a danger or hazard. Inhaled asbestos fibers can cause potentially lethal respiratory diseases. Prevention measures include ensuring occupants do not carry out any self-help work, for example, sanding, painting, carpet replacement, drilling, demolition of building materials, etc., without prior DPW approval on a DA Form 4283, after asbestos testing, clearance, and/or abatement has been accomplished. Bottom line, submit work orders. Asbestos hazards are very real. Lead-based paint awareness. What is lead-based paint? Paints or other surface coatings that contain lead to or exceeding 1.0 milligrams per centimeter squared or 0.5% by weight. Why is lead-based paint a hazard? Lead-based paint chips, peelings, and airborne dust pose hazards. When inhaled or ingested, it can result in elevated levels of lead in the blood, causing birth defects, mental retardation, and bone deformities. Prevention measures include ensuring occupants do not carry out any self-help work, for example, sanding, painting, carpet replacement, etc., without prior DPW approval using a form, DA Form 4283, after lead testing, clearance, and/or abatement has been accomplished. On the next slide, take a look at the spill response procedure. Give you a little bit of time to look it over, and please note steps 1 through 7. Above ground storage tanks, ASTs. Close the valve at the dike of single-walled tanks. Drainage of stormwater from diked areas will be controlled by a valve that is closed when not in active use. Check before discharging. Check for spills. If any fuel leak or oil sheen found from ASTs connected to the building, contact DPW Service Order Desk at 763-4824. Please note the Type 1 single-walled versus the Type 2 doubled-wall ASTs. Take a moment to look at the pictures. On to the next slide. Stray animal control. Do not provide food, water, or shelter to stray animals or wild animals. Do not attempt to approach stray animals or wildlife. Avoid attracting animals by putting your garbage in the appropriate bins and by bringing pet food bowls inside each night. Keep your distance from stray animals and wildlife. Ensure safety for yourself and make sure others are aware of the location of the animal. Stray animals, particularly feral cats, are a significant impact to native wildlife and also pose serious potential health hazards. For wildlife information, contact DPW Wildlife Program at 763-5367. For pest control, contact 764-5088 or 763-2183. Recycling program. Separate recyclables, aluminum, plastics, cardboard, paper, glasses, metal, copper, textiles, and food waste prior to collection or drop-off. Ensure recycling bins have serviceable lids and are not cracked, damaged, or leaking. Ensure recycling bins/trash bin lids are closed at all times. Transfer all indoor recyclables to the designated outdoor centralized recycling collection points outside your facility. Questions? Call DPW Environmental at 763-5366. Hazardous materials. Leftover household chemical cleaning supplies and fluorescent bulbs can be turned into the self-help stores located at both Camp Walker and Camp Carroll. Please note the location addresses. And a final note on this slide, do not throw chemicals in the trash. Hazardous waste, as mentioned before, do not throw in the trash. Items such as batteries, alkaline, lithium, nickel metal hydride, lead acid, also fluorescent light bulbs and ballasts. If you identify any waste that were left at your facility and you think it may be hazardous, items such as motor oils, solvents, antifreeze, contact DPW Environmental. Please note the point of contact information, phone numbers, email, and building location. Environmental points of contact. Please note the various points of contact for the environmental division and programs. Environmental training, environmental inspections, recycling manager, self-help stores, hazardous waste disposal, DPW pest control shops, asbestos/LBP program manager, above ground storage tank manager, natural resource manager, and finally the cultural resource manager. Environmental quiz. Question 1. If a spill of hazardous material is less than 5 gallons, who do you call? Question 2. When does material that contains asbestos become a hazard? Question 3. Where can you drop or pick up leftover household chemicals or cleaning supplies? Question 4. If you cannot locate recycling bins or recycling bins are unserviceable, who do you call? Question 5. Who do you call for hazardous waste turn-in? Bonus question. When is Earth Day? Answers can be found at the end of the training slides. This concludes this portion of the briefing. Garrison Safety Office, located at Building 1211, Room 236 at Camp Henry. Topics of discussion: Risk Assessment Codes, or RACs, Standardized Army Risk Matrix, Safety Inspection Guide for Living and Work Areas, and finally, Area 4 Safety Office Contacts. Risk Assessment Code, or RAC, found on a Facilities Engineering Work Request, DA Form 4283, submitted through the USAG Daegu Safety Office or the Unit Safety Office for assignment of a Risk Assessment Code, RAC. Each safety office evaluates and assigns appropriate risk assessment code, RAC, 1 for high through 4 for low, for related work requests, again on a DA Form 4283. Provide a courtesy copy of any RAC 1 or RAC 2 code work requests to the Garrison Safety Office. USAG Daegu Safety Office will track all RAC assigned work orders. On the following slide, please note a sample of a facilities engineering work request and also the highlighted portion of where the RAC information that is assigned is inserted. Standardized Army Risk Matrix. Please note the various levels of severity as well as the various levels of probability for the risk matrix. Going on to the next slide, Safety Inspection Guide for Living and Work Areas. The following 4 slides will be examples of situations involving safety. Please note and take a little bit of time on each slide to study. Area 4 Safety Office Contacts. Mr. Randall Ross, USAG Daegu Safety Manager. 19th ESC Safety Manager. Mr. Browley Mickey, MSCK Safety Manager. And Mr. David Harper, 403rd AFSB Safety Manager. Please note the associated phone numbers for each safety office contact. This concludes this portion of the safety briefing. Fire and Emergency Services, Fire Prevention, located at Building 1712, second floor, Camp Henry. Topics of discussion: Facility Manager's Responsibility, Emergency Reporting, Fire Drills and Evacuation Plans, Fire Hazards. Facility Manager's Responsibility. Facility managers will maintain a fire prevention file folder that contains records of past fire inspections, fire and life safety related work requests, evacuation drills conducted, and fire prevention training conducted. On-post emergency, dial 911. Cell/commercial phone, dial 0503 364 5911. Off-post emergency for local community, 119. When you report, keep in mind of the actual location of the fire, personnel information, description, address, building number, nature of fire. Fire department For routine call, please note the phone number and also note the numbers for the fire prevention chief as well as the fire inspector. For types of facilities, please note the fire drill frequencies. Residential board, 6 times per year. Daycare, not less than 1 per month. Hospitals, quarterly for each work shift. Schools, monthly while school's in session. Barracks and dormitories, routinely so unit personnel are familiar with procedures. Business, assembly, routinely so employees are familiar with procedures. Evacuation plans. Know at least 2 ways out. Close the door behind you. Make sure the fire department has been called and everyone has evacuated. If you decide to fight a fire, make sure it's not a highly flammable material and you have an escape route located behind you. Evacuation plan must be posted in common areas. For barracks, posted on the back of every door. On the next slide, classes of fires. Class A fire, ordinary combustibles such as wood, paper, cloth, etc. Class B fire, flammable liquids, grease, oil, paint, solvents. Class C fire, live electrical equipment, electrical panel, motor, wiring, etc. Class D fire, combustible metal, magnesium, aluminum, etc. And finally, a Class K fire, commercial cooking equipment, cooking oils, animal fats, vegetable oils. On this slide, please note the cooking hazards. Do not use portable gas cans for cooking in U.S. Army facilities. Remove all unauthorized cooking appliances. Cooking is not permitted in any facility that does not have a domestic-type kitchen. And remember, never leave food cooking on the stove, microwave, or any other appliance. On the following slide, fire extinguisher use. Break safety seal, pull the pin, aim the fire, squeeze levers, and sweep the nozzle. Fire extinguisher maintenance. 10 pounds dry chemical type fire extinguisher requires hydrostatic testing every 12 years. CO2 fire extinguishers every 5 years. Coupled with transportation costs, the total cost to hydrostatic test a fire extinguisher could be more than the cost of a new extinguisher. For assistance in ordering, contact the GSA MART representative at Osan Air Base at 315-784-4975. Also, please note some helpful information on how to buy and discard fire extinguishers and the relevant points of contact. Exits. Number 1, all exit doors will be regularly inspected for proper operation. Restrictive hardware such as padlocks and hasps, throw bolts, and crossbars are not allowed on any exit door except as permitted by NFPA Standard 101. 2. It is a facility or building manager's responsibility for the replacement of bulbs and exit lights, and also the facility or building manager's responsibility to submit a facility engineering work request or service order for the replacement of these lights. Installed emergency lighting units will be maintained operational at all times. Hallways, corridors, stairways, and vestibules leading to exits, attics, and spaces under stairs will not be used for storage or workspace. And remember, fire doors cannot be left open. On the following slide for exits, please note the pictures as well as the guidance information. Smoking. Please take a look at these pictures and remember, ashtrays must be in a non-combustible or metal container. Flammable liquids cabinet. Please note in the picture on this slide that the flammable keep fire away signs are not posted. Flammable keep fire away signs must be posted in such areas. Poor housekeeping. Please take about 30 seconds to look at this slide here and note the pictures that depict unauthorized candles, smoke detector removed from ceiling, block smoke detector, combustible trash bag, and improper materials. Welding and cutting operation. Please take a moment and look over this slide. Fire prevention quiz. Question 1. What is the emergency phone number on base from a DSN line? Question 2. What is the emergency cell number that can be used on or off base for emergencies? Question 3. Who conducts fire safety training and fire evacuation drills? Question 4. Who conducts monthly checks of their fire extinguishers? And question 5. Which fire class is defined by ordinary combustibles? Answers can be found at the end of the training slides. This concludes this portion of the briefing. Welcome to the portion of the training on the ISR-I program. ISR-I assesses garrison infrastructure for future improvements. General overview. The Installation Status Report, ISR, is a web-based decision support program designed to evaluate the condition and readiness of facilities, services, and resources at Army installations worldwide. ISR-I is the Army's program of record for the condition of its facilities. The Army uses ISR-I to program sustainment, restoration, and modernization (SRM) money and to prioritize major construction for Army garrisons. ISR-I feeds MILCON for large-scale program construction and SRM. In general, the program requires each facility to be inspected once per year. Some facilities, however, are only inspected every 3 or 5 years. In some cases, multiple inspections are required if there are changes to facility conditions over the course of the year. All information pertaining to the annual data collection can be found on the ISR webpage. On this slide, please note the ISR infrastructure process flow for FY20 as an example. DPW is mandated to input inspection results for all assets. Each year, a specified number of assets are rated based on a 3-year cycle. Real Property will send out the workbooks for the assets that will require inspection by your unit's facility managers. If we do not receive your completed signed workbooks in a timely fashion, your facilities may receive a default green rating under the assumption your facilities are in Army Standard Condition, Q1, and fully support your mission, F1. In reality, we know that this is not necessarily the case due to the advanced age of our garrison's infrastructure. So we request your support and cooperation to ensure data accuracy. We strongly encourage you to execute the identified facility inspections in a timely manner so that we are not rushing to complete the inspections towards the end of the 3rd quarter. If our office does not receive inspection workbooks for your designated facilities, then DPW will have to rate your facilities as green within ISR by default, and the end result shall be $0 funding dollars for SRM work in the next fiscal year. Our goal is to have a minimum of 20% of the Area 4 required facility inspections completed by the end of the 1st quarter, 60% by the end of the 2nd quarter, and 100% by the end of the 3rd quarter. ISR-I plays a critical role in funding decisions at all levels. Assets rated Q1/F1 typically receive the lowest funding priority. And please also note that if requirements change, we will go ahead and send out to the units an email notifying you each quarter. Please take a few moments here to look over this slide. And please also note the question and answer. Question: how do you find current fiscal year inspection requirements and information? Answer: just stand by. It will be provided by real property to facility managers by email. On this slide and the 5 subsequent slides on using the workbook, please take a little bit of time. It'll be about 30 seconds and then it'll auto advance, looking over different aspects of the ISR-I workbook. On this slide and the next 2 slides, take a little bit of time to look over finishing the workbook. Take about 30 seconds on each slide. Wrapping up, save the PDF or Excel workbook and send to the Directorate or Unit POC. Submit the completed workbook to the ISR-I program POC. Program Points of Contact. ISR-I Program Administrator, Mr. Kim Kyung-yeon. ISR-I Program Manager, Mr. Bob Nemo. And Chief of Master Planning Division, Mr. Ju Im. ISR-I Quiz. Question 1. How do you find inspection requirements and other information for facilities? Question 2. F ratings address the physical condition of the facility, true or false? Question 3. Which color rating denotes the facility is in poor condition? Question 4. ISR-I is the Army's program of record for a facility's condition, true or false? And question 5. All buildings are rated for ISR-I annually, true or false? Answers can be found at the end of the training slides. This concludes this portion of the briefing. In our final section of the training, we will now cover Real Property RP accountability. Facility clearance requirements. Provide DPW real property with advance notice when vacating space. Turnover. 30 days for small buildings and 60 days for larger buildings. Governing process. USAG Daegu Real Property Clearance SOP and the Garrison OPR. Key requirements. Remove all unit property, for example furniture, wall hangings, etc. Rule of thumb. If it's not bolted down, it goes. Move it out. Account for all keys. Replace missing keys and/or locks. Document on a DA 5513 with attached building floor plan. Reconcile all service orders and work orders. Clean all trash and debris from facility. Coordinate with environmental staff to purge fuel tanks, if applicable. First step. Need to schedule real property and environmental pre-inspection. Exception to this, barracks belong to DPW housing. In those cases, contact the unaccompanied personnel housing manager. USAG Daegu Real Property Clearance SOP. On this slide, please note some screenshots which identify the Real Property Clearance SOP as well as the checklist for the using agency. Sample Key Control Register and Inventory, DA 5513 with floor plan. Please note the screenshots that identify the Key Control Register and Inventory as well as a screenshot of a sample floor plan. Real Property Accountability Quiz. Question 1. The direct transfer of any space between using agencies is permitted. True or false? Question 2. All transfers need to be done through DPW Real Property Branch. True or false? Question 3. At a minimum, how many keys are required for each door? Question 4. What basic documentation do you need to prepare and submit for a building turnover? Hint, there are 4 documents. Answers can be found at the end of the training slides. This concludes the end of the training presentations. The following are answers to the quizzes. Each slide is time delayed and will automatically proceed to the next slide after review of the answers. Environmental quiz answers. Self-help and preventative maintenance quiz answers. Fire prevention quiz, answers. ISR-I quiz, answers. RP quiz, answers. Well, you did it. Congratulations. This is the end of the training course. Thank you for taking the online course. We welcome any comments or feedback. Make sure to download, e-sign, and return a certificate of completion. Thanks again.